What's up, guys? Joe with Trager Farms. I'm a habitat specialist with Whitetail Habitat Solutions alongside Jeff Sturgis and the gang. Hope everyone is doing well. We're back out on the farm today. We got a hodgepodge of stuff to do, but I want to talk to you guys a little bit about fertilizer and timing and lime and all that good stuff. I have a soil sample video that I did half of it in the more winter time when I did my soil samples, and didn't quite finish it, so I don't know if I'll combine that with this video, or maybe just kind of finish it up, make a separate video how I read the soil samples and kind of what that means. But today, my good buddy Mike, you guys know, he delivered some urea, nitrogen, and also some potash and stuff like that I think we're lowest in the soil. And with the corn that we're doing this year, that nitrogen will really help out a lot. Switchgrass looking taller, guys. You can kind of see our path here and the height we're working with on the switch, which really, honestly, for mid-June, mid going into late June, I guess, that's pretty good. It's 3-4 plus feet, over 4 feet in some areas. So I'd say we're doing good. Definitely got some mare's tail and stuff we could probably spray for at some point. A little 2,4-D. Should get rid of that and not hurt our switch as well. So that'll be kind of one of the sprayings that we could be doing, as well as some of the pine trees. Got a nice combination with a new herbicide that actually Dylan told me I'll share with you guys here on the channel, or I'll put it up on the screen maybe. Starts with an A. Anyway, the buckwheat is looking pretty good. When I was out here mowing in that last video, I forgot to do around a couple of these mast trees in the backs and oaks and chestnuts. So I'm going to kind of finish that off. And then we have a special delivery today. So stay tuned for what the delivery is, and we'll talk a little bit about that, the rhyme and reason for that as well, and some of the options that I chose. Picked up a broadcast spreader this morning. That's how we're going to be doing the fertilizer, so I'll show you that. But I'm going to go ahead and get these trees mowed. We'll head back and start to get organized. I might need to run into town and get some diesel, but hope you guys are hard at work. Looks like we had a little deadfall come down into the plot. This plot was planted a little bit later, if you remember. Well, you may not remember, but more or less I forgot to do this one when I did my other, before my other sprayings and whatnot. Ooh, the corn is coming in pretty good, actually. So anyway, the buckwheat got put down here during that last spraying in the previous video, I want to say. And so the buckwheat is coming up, if you can see some of that. It's just a little bit behind some of the other stuff. These are the grasses and some poplars and stuff like that around these trees here we're going to take care of. There are some weeds growing in our tubes, it looks like. But hopefully our tree is isn't smothered out of this tube as well. We pulled a little bit of the weeds, and I think there's a chestnut in there. So it is trying to make it. They do get some light through the tube, so hopefully that's not all smothered out. But anyway, it's going to be taking a lot of these grasses down so that these mass trees get a lot of sun, and you know, the nutrients and stuff aren't all sucked up by the grasses. So anyway, we'll hop back in the tractor. I was trying to see how our switchgrass was doing as far as dying from that glyphosate spraying. If you remember, I had sprayed earlier in the year, and it didn't get the best kill because I think there was too much thatch after I mowed. But you can tell here I left some of this because I'm gonna, I think, mow a little path, but it is killing the switch quite well, it seems. And our buckwheat will grow through that. Worst case, if I have to, I can disc down the road before our fall food goes in. Looks like that tree broke, and this is actually a deer trail where we like them to come out. So gonna have to clean that up. It's a little bit too big, gonna need the chainsaw, but we'll get that done as well. You can kind of see that they like to come out of. That's almost exactly where Mike and I were sitting when we killed our turkeys just a couple months ago. So good thing we were not sitting there when that came down. So I can start to see more corn coming up on this side of the field, which is good. It was a little bit delayed. I think maybe a little drier than the back part, which you can't really see from here anyway. But anyway, I'm happy about that. It doesn't look spectacular by any means. You know, there are some gaps, and I think one of the reasons for that is just because we want to level it out a little bit more so that we can get the seed to soil contact. The planter does a nice job, right, putting it 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches deep, something like that. So you get immediate seed to soil contact. But if you're all a little bit bumpy, which I didn't really feel like I was, but you know, disking, it doesn't do a perfect job. So either you do using some kind of drag or cultipacker after that, or maybe even just behind the disc at the same time to kind of smooth that out. I think we'll try that next year just to get a more consistent planting. This is kind of neat with the half corn, half buckwheat, you know, that'll be food with the blind there in the back. This corn is looking pretty good, as well as that 2 parts previous where we were mowing. That corn was looking much better as well, and I can tell you that probably had a little bit of a smoother ground as well, so that could play a portion. All right, guys, this is our broadcast spreader we got. It's a PTO mounted one, so it goes on the back of the tractor. A bunch of different kind of version sizes that you can get depending on the horsepower of your tractor. Comes with a nice little chart, so it kind of tells you at your RPM how wide you're going to spread, and with the miles per hour of your tractor, it'll tell you the quantity per acre depending on what you're spreading. So that's kind of neat. This is a SS 3067B. I found it kind of unique, not to go down a tangent, but when you get a compact tractor that has a little more horsepower, not a lot of the compact implements bode really well because they're kind of meant for that lesser horsepower that most compact tractors have. Anyway, this will be nice. It'll spread nice and wide. We'll get it attached, and we have our bags of urea and potash right here. So remember, guys, brief overview: NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, or potash. So if it is that first number, nitrogen, so that is our urea there, and the last number would be the potash or potassium. So these are pretty concentrated amounts, and so we don't need quite as much. At times they can be a little bit harder to find. The big thing that I wanted to mention with you guys real quick, especially when it comes to the urea and the nitrogen, is that nitrogen is a gas, and if you do not get rain rather quickly on this fertilizer, it will simply evaporate into the air. So a couple things: if I could have gotten this earlier, had a little bit more time, what I probably would have done is that last disc before I put the corn or the buckwheat in, I could have thrown that in and worked the soil a little bit. Doesn't work for everyone if you don't have the equipment, but that way it would have been covered and we would know that it would get into the soil, and then still hopefully with some rains it would even get worked in a little bit quicker, but would be much better or easier that way. Potash won't make as big of a deal about that. It'll just take a little bit of time if you're just top seeding it or dressing it. The nitrogen, again, we're going to be putting it on top this time, so we're going to hope it's supposed to give some rain tomorrow that gets into the ground and it's not just a waste. So I wanted to mention that to you guys and make sure you're not just throwing it down, or if your property's a little bit further away, that you're not just wasting your money. I might even hold on to it. Even if you get this at germination or multiple weeks after germination, it would still be best to hold off until that rain's coming. It has been a day. It's getting hotter and hotter. I think by 4 or 5 it's going to be 92. That's not without that is without like the humidity and double negative there. So to start our complications, we got a couple wasp nests over there in the shed, but also this is not iMatch compatible like I thought it would be, which is not the end of the world. Totally get it. Take the iMatch off. It's a few pins, throw it on, but it's just, when you think you order something and it's compatible, you pay X price, you take it here, try to get it set up, waste another hour, and then find out it's not compatible. It's a little annoying, a little frustrating, and I guess it's like another $1,000 just to get this same thing that's basically iMatch compatible. So not the end of the world. We'll take this thing off, but it's just funny to me, to go on a slight tangent, how this stuff has been around for like decades. And it's just so, maybe compatible is or is not the right word, but it's just not like standardized that much. And like, just as, in my opinion, just look at something like, I don't know if you can see this little knob, like many spreaders, you adjust this knob These things don't even like tighten super well. You can hit it and push it and usually it'll slide. It's just not very sturdy and, you know, rigid. Like some of these, you have a pin, you put it in the slot, it's not going anywhere. It's just amazing, which I get it, you know, it's cheaper to make and things like that, but these things could be made so much better. Who wants to start a tractor company? All right. Anyway, I'm gonna take the eye match off. We're gonna go get this stuff down. It's supposed to rain a little tomorrow, so that's as good as I can do. We'll get this fertilizer done and we'll test the spreader out, so I'll let you know how it goes. All right, guys, we have 7 bags, boom, into the spreader. That's what, 350 pounds? 7 times 50? Sounds about right. It's supposed to be an 850 pound capacity. So more or less, it's more than double what we have in here. Double would be 700 plus another 3 bags. I say BS, John Deere. These companies, man, I swear to God. Could definitely get a few more bags in here, no doubt about it. And it would probably be pouring out. I think even if you were even close to 850, you'd have a mound like tiptoeing up here and it would be like just specked around the whole edge. Obviously not gonna work for driving around. Anyway, we're gonna go get this done. So at least you guys know, I mean, if this is 7, you could probably get 8, 9, maybe 10 pretty comfortably driving, you know, with some bumps here and there. I'm gonna do this though, just because I'm kind of mixing some of the potash with the nitrogen. Go get this done, come fill it up again, knock it out. It's been a day, let's do this. I'm so used to using the eye match that I really hope I have this hooked up correctly. Or we're gonna have a 350 pound mess that I'm gonna have to shovel back up or something. Looks okay. I think for around 150 pounds per acre, which really, so 2 to 2.5 acres, I guess, at number 2 setting with that chart I showed you guys earlier. You can pause it on the video if you want to do some of your own calculations, but so that's actually pretty much dang close to around how much corn I put out. So I think I'm just gonna focus on the corn for now. I'm gonna kind of hate to run over the buckwheat for the food plot. I could potentially wait on the other bucket until I disc the buckwheat in, you know, and do it that way so it's a little closer to the food plot planting, even though it does take some time to actually work and get into the soil. But more or less then it would definitely get buried in, and I wouldn't be kind of running over all of the buckwheat right now. So maybe I'll do that. Let's go test this out. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to video how the spread is looking, just because doing this and trying to make sure I don't waste all of it right away. So I will let you guys know how it goes. And again, we'll be on number 2 setting. Should get, I think, a 30 or 35 or 38 or something like that spread width at 540 RPM. Man, that seems so high to me, running 540 like a brush hog on this spreader. I mean, it just seems like I'm going to be shooting fertilizer to the moon, but my steering wheel shakes when I run the brush hog. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. I'm not sweating, you're sweating. All right, guys, so we have done a few passes. Look at my buckwheat, baby. Not too bad. I am running it over, like I said I wasn't gonna do, but I have some corn, and really with this spread width, I'm kind of almost getting the whole thing here. I'm very close. I definitely wanted to hit the corn, so I'm just running over a little buckwheat. I'll try and look at the exact date I planted this and put it up there, but it looks pretty dang good, especially with these sandier areas. Wanted to take a quick second to show you, you know, what the spread is like as far as if you can see the white on the ground. I mean, it's pretty good at this level 2 mark. It's a good scatter. Go, guys, a little spreader action. Hopefully you can at least see something. It's probably getting a good 20 feet on both sides. Like I said, it's probably dang close to that 38 feet, I think, with the settings I currently have. I am liking level 2. for only 2 passes. I mean, you can see how much is left, you know, so probably got 7, 8, 9, 10 passes maybe total with the whole thing, or more after this, something like that. I would say that I've seen this on other YouTube videos. The spreader tends to throw more if you're driving to the right, basically, a little bit less to the left. I bet there's probably a way to adjust that more. I just don't have the time today, or maybe even this year. Also, big thing, besides that, your PTO shaft, I don't know why they do this or if tractors are that different when it comes to compact tractors, but another thing is you can't lift this any more than that without shaving some off of that, off the PTO shaft. Basically, right, it's overlapping, there's 2 pieces. If I am to raise that too much, I run out of room between the 2 pieces overlapping and something will happen, I'm sure, if I force it. Thankfully, I have this electronic PTO. I just raised it until it was about the exact same, so I can't go up anymore, but it's just another thing you're gonna have to take off, shave both ends evenly, it says, and then to file off burrs and blah, blah, blah. That probably doesn't matter, but who knows. Anyway, wanted to mention that in case you're getting one of these or considering it. One last thing I would probably tell you guys, as a tractor dummy trying to figure out, no one says this like plain Jane, or at least I'll try my best. But basically, if you're using like one of these hydrostatic machines, the PTO will change with your throttle. So you don't need to like worry, like with the brush hog, I manually move the lever, set it to 540. With this, you can start moving. It's kind of hard with the cab, but you know, you don't need to start moving, but push the lever, start moving and hit your PTO, and it will actually start to spin faster as you are moving. So if that makes sense, so you don't need to manually do it if that makes you feel better. You'll do your lever, start moving, hit your PTO, it'll turn on, and yes, you will get a little bit going before you start moving, but it's only a second or two, and you're dealing with a pretty large quantity, so not the end of the world. But I hope that kind of helps. You don't need to manually do it like a brush hog, so hope it helps. All right, so I got the second load. Decided running over the puppy a little bit's okay, so I don't have to take off the eye match and blah blah again. We'll just get it done. I think it might be young enough that most of it bounces back anyway. The corn that looks good is actually, I don't know, 6 inches to 12 inches in some areas, so hopefully I didn't kill too much of that. I tried to stay in between the rows as much as possible. Quick reminder before I show you the surprise when it finally gets here, but make sure you are washing these out, especially if you're doing salt and fertilizer or anything like that. Even though the cone is polyurethane, the agitator, the plates typically, and the little spinners and stuff are some sort of metal. I'm not going to pretend to know. Could be magnesium, could be graphite, could be carbon fiber. Just kidding. But you'll want to make sure you rinse that off so it doesn't corrode and rust. If you find any of these used on Marketplace or anything, half of them are rusted out. I even think I might have saw a tint of rust on something when I picked this up. So just take a look. I mean, half of these, if you pick one up and it's in store, in stock or whatever, it might have been sitting outside for a year or two. So take that for what it's worth. I'm going to finish this up real quick, and then we'll be back for the last part. I'm going to do the lime and that kind of chat here in maybe the next video if I get it done around the soil samples and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Quick little pocket update, guys. The 6-footers are quite well now. That other one's pretty dead. Even though that poplar, it's growing from the bottom. So, but anyway, look at these guys. These are the 2-footers. All right, 3 on each leg. There. See it? They're actually pretty tall. I should come in with a weed whip. These ones aren't quite as tall. They are a different variety. But anyway, it's been pretty hot. We've had some rains, probably not as bad as like the 2-month drought we had last year. But the 2-footers are doing very well compared to the 12 inchers that we did previously. Even from their growth. I mean, these few up here and whatnot, They're way bigger than those 12 inches even came close to. So just wanted to show you the benefit to how those were coming. All right, guys, surprise! It's only money. You can't bury it with you. Well, I guess you could, but we're spending it. All right, guys, as you can see, got a couple blinds. Really excited. Of course, we got my son Grady now. Didn't go too overboard, at least I think in my opinion, but 2 blinds, and we needed a couple new covers for the gillies anyway. But I'm gonna do a video about this, why I chose what I chose, and so on. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the soil samples and all that good stuff. I hope you picked up something good on the fertilizer and the things we talked about today, or if anyone's interested in a broadcast spreader or using one that they maybe bought. But as always, leave any questions in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.